Hello, hello, hello. This is CRP speaking to you live, and this is the weekly webinar number 18. Before we get started, as usual, if you wouldn't mind raising your hand to ensure that you can hear me properly. Can you hear me properly? Just raise your little hand there. I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Looks like everybody can hear me. Fantastic. Listen, I'm so sorry for the delay. It couldn't be helped. I was outside of the city, and returning to the city turned out to be a little bit longer than I anticipated. And so it was, I'm sorry about that. Sorry, but well, better late than never. So we're going to do this webinar on FIRE, which is the Financial Independence Retire Early movement, which I've been getting some requests from different people here on Patreon, different members who are subscribed. And it's an interesting topic. I'm not going to talk about any kind of manner in which to invest, okay? Or business that you should pursue or whatnot. That's up to you. I want to take a step back and look at it from a macro perspective. What's the point of FIRE? What's the point of doing it, of pursuing financial independence? Because on its face, it seems very attractive, but you have to start thinking about what it actually means. Not simply saying, oh yeah, I want financial independence, I want to retire early, but why? Why do you want to do these things? That's the key question. I'm putting down everybody's hand because I've ensured that everybody can hear me properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this presentation. It should last about an hour or so, and then I'm going to take questions and comments. I want to insist before I get into this that I am not a financial advisor. It would be, in fact, I do believe in certain jurisdictions, it would be illegal for me to give any kind of financial advice. I am not here to tell you in what to invest in. I'm here to give you like a perspective as to how you should approach this issue of FIRE and whether it's worthwhile for you, because for some people, it's going to be a complete waste of time. Whereas for other people, it will be a tremendous help. So let's get started. Okay, so here's the whole outline for the show. I'm always of two minds whether to put out like the whole outline of a show in one slide. But then again, I figure that it's good because that way you know what I think is important and what I think is not that important, right? So anyway, let's get cracking. FIRE is, as I said before, financial independence and retire early. The notion, it's basically an online movement at this point. I mean, it really is like a movement. And there are a lot of people, so be on your guard, there are a lot of people who are trying to sell you stuff, trying to sell you seminars and crap like that about FIRE. I mean, I perused a little bit of a few Reddit boards and here and there and whatnot and forums and so on. I'll be real honest. I think that a lot of it is just jerking off. A lot of these guys who are in this FIRE movement, they're just talking about shit as opposed to actually doing it. And they theorize and they go on and on and on, sort of like the pickup artist community. There are a lot of guys in the pickup artist community who, excuse me, who don't really approach girls, but they talk about girls incessantly. And they strategize and theorize incessantly, but they never actually go up to a girl and say, hey, my name is John, I want to fuck you, or words to that effect. You see, in FIRE, there's something very similar going on because the online world lends itself to mental masturbation. It lends itself to guys who just literally mentally jerk off without ever doing the deed. I mean, think about it. I mean, this is incredibly vulgar, but think about it. When you go out and fuck some woman, you are potentially creating a baby, right? You are out there doing it. Whereas masturbating, what is that? You're not doing it. You're doing it by yourself. You're pretending to be doing it. Yeah. A lot of people in a lot of forums on FIRE are just talking about it endlessly. Okay. You want to avoid that crap. You want to be a doer, not a talker. Now, and here I am going to give lie to that very statement. I'm going to talk about FIRE, but you understand what I'm saying. Now, The whole notion of financial independence, retire early, is that you are, it's only possible, it is necessarily possible by acquiring an independent income, also called passive income. Essentially, fuck you money. For those of you who don't know, that the concept of fuck you money is basically enough money that you can say fuck you to anybody. Mm? And that's sort of like the dream of everybody, to have enough money that nobody hassles you. It's a dream, but it's a daydream. Okay, so you have to be a little bit careful, and I'll get into it in just a second. Now, passive income, when people talk about passive income or independent income, you always have to remember that no matter how passive your income is, you always have to look after it. Okay, there's no real such thing as passive income, except frankly, the only ones I can truly think of are military retirees or people retired from social service, like policemen and firemen and whatnot. They get a check every month and they don't even have to think about it once they retired. Okay, those are the only people who truly have passive income. People who are retired and they're getting their retirement money from something so bulletproof that it'll never go bankrupt. Because if you retire from a company's pension fund or whatnot, that pension fund can go belly up and you'd be, shit out of luck. Okay, so nobody really has passive income, independent income. You always have to be looking after it. Okay, that caveat, I have to put it out there. Now, there are two components to financial independence and retire early. This is going to sound obvious until you start to think about it a little bit. Financial independence means getting your fuck you money. Retire early presumes that you want to do so, you don't want to work anymore, so that you can do the things that you truly love. Think about it. Why would you retire early? Huh? It sounds great on its face, but you're only going to be doing it if the thing that you are working at is something that you really hate, either a job or a business. You really hate that thing. That's the only reason to retire early. Warren Buffett is like 85 or 88 years old. I mean, he's an old man, okay? Now, he's working every goddamn day. Why? Can he retire early? Fuck yeah, he can retire early. He's he's got $50 billion or however much money he has. Of course he could retire early. He doesn't want to. Why? Because he enjoys working. It's fun. It's not work. And that is something that you should be thinking about. Because the whole point of a good life is to be doing that which you enjoy and desire to do. Okay? Now, this is really interesting insofar as fire is concerned, because when you start thinking about fire, it forces you to figure out what you would love to do and whether you can earn a living at it. Earn a living, it doesn't matter how much money we're talking about, just making money enough that you can live on it, okay? So that's the first step that you have to be taking insofar as fire is concerned. You have to figure out you have to do two things. Number one, you have to figure out what is it that you truly love to do. This is actually really hard. Most people don't know. And here's something else that's very important. See, you really want to figure out what you love to do and try to be doing that thing. Because see, a lot of people say that they want to retire early, and they want to retire early and just play golf and hang out and just, watch TV and just chill. Yeah. Now that sounds on its face fine, especially if you have a job that you hate or just dislike the life that you have. It sounds fine. But a lot of those guys who do retire early, they have a heart attack within a year and drop dead because of it. Yeah, because a lot of times they discover after the fact, once they've retired, that they really enjoyed the pressure of working. Perhaps they didn't enjoy the work in and of itself, but the activity of it, they enjoyed it. And there are different aspects in any profession that you're doing, in any job that you're doing. There's the activity in and of itself, but a lot of times there's also the issue of the company that you're keeping. Sometimes you're involved in some business that you don't particularly care for, but you love the environment of it. The environment just makes you very happy. And this sounds odd, and you would think that that's not true, but it is the case. Many people find themselves in jobs, in businesses, in situations where they don't like what they're doing, but they love the people that they're with. They love the stress of it. You got to keep in mind too that all human beings require stress. We are all anti-fragile in the sense that, see, the more stress we have, the stronger we get. And when you remove stress, a lot of times you start just like falling apart like a like a jello mold that has, that's just left out in the sun. It starts just melting away. Mhm. So you have to figure out, the first thing you have to be doing is figuring out that which you truly love and whether you can earn a living at it. Once you figure out what you truly love doing, you have to figure out if you can produce an income from it. If you can, then do that thing and don't worry about fire. Yeah, of course. For instance, if you are, say, let's take something very humble. Suppose that you enjoy doing woodworking. Some of you guys know that I like doing woodworking and I'm pretty crappy at it, but I enjoy doing it, right? If you enjoy doing woodworking and you can earn a living at it, perhaps not a great living, but it's something that you really enjoy doing. The hours spent at woodworking make you feel happy. It's something that you really enjoy. You look forward to it. You look forward to the challenges of it every day. If that makes you happy, then you don't have to worry about fire. You just pursue woodworking, become a carpenter. It's as simple as that. See? But if you cannot produce an income from the thing that you really love to do, then you want to be considering fire. You see? Yeah, because what you want to be doing is achieve financial independence and retire early so that you can do that thing that you really like to do but does not produce an income. See? This is something that a lot of these people in fire do not seem to understand. They're not thinking to themselves of what constitutes a good life. They're only thinking to themselves of how do I make a lot of money and retire early to do nothing. That's what a lot of them, at least in the forums that I was cruising through, seem to be talking about. They seem to not be thinking of what is the point of fire. Why pursue fire? The why question always cuts like a hot butter, like a hot knife through butter. Okay? You always want to ask why. Why pursue fire? And the only reason to pursue it is because the thing that you really love cannot provide you with the living that you want, whatsoever that living may be. Okay? Perhaps you have certain ambitions and goals that yes, you love woodworking and you could get a decent living at it, but you have certain ambitions insofar as earning enough money for a family and whatnot, this, that, the other, that woodworking simply will not achieve. No matter how you do it, no matter how you figure out a way to make like high-end furniture and charge like $1 gazillion for a sofa or whatever the fuck, there's no way for you to earn enough money that you could achieve the social or family goals or whatnot that you have in mind. I mean, that happens, of course. See, that sometimes you have ambitions in your life that the thing that you love to do, you could earn a living at it if it was just you. But there are other things that you want to achieve in your life that make it null and void. And so there you have to make a decision like a grown-up, whether you are going to pursue these very expensive objectives that the thing that you love cannot provide you an income for, or whether you are going to forego these expensive objectives and do that thing which you truly enjoy doing. See? I mean, this is a grown-up decision. This is the typical decisions that a man makes in his life. And see, that's the key issue of fire. Why pursue fire forces you to figure these questions out. And that's why I think it's valuable. And that's why I was like interested in it. That's what like caught my attention. So if you can do do the thing that you love, and by doing that thing that you love, you achieve the income necessary for all of the objectives you have in your life, then do that and forget about fire. Because fire inherently is telling you that you're going to have to do something that you really don't like in order to achieve a lot of money. Okay? The central idea of fire is redundant if you are pursuing the thing or life that you truly enjoy and desire. That's the key takeaway there. And this is the first thing that you have to think about. Now, the second thing that you have to think about insofar as fire is concerned, if you decide to take this path of fire, you have to recognize that, see, on the one hand, you're going to need wages in order to live, wages from a job or a business or whatever that pays you enough that you can pay for food, pay for shelter, pay for clothes. Yeah. But at the same time, you're also going to need to acquire that independent income. You're going to have to be pursuing the things that will help you acquire that independent income. Now, let me give you an example in my own case. Now, in 1995, I graduated from college and I moved out to Hollywood. Now, I had the opportunity to continue studying either law or get a PhD in history or work at an investment bank. And those were my options when I graduated. But rather than do any of those options, I decided I was going to go out to Hollywood and try my luck as a writer. Now, of course, I got out to Hollywood and I had $2,200. I remember it very clearly. I spent exactly $1,100 on a car, on a 87 Hyundai Excel. Yeah, this is like a four-door hatchback. It was a piece of shit, but it was pretty dependable actually. And cost me $1,100. What I did was that I worked as a temporary office worker. I found different companies. This was a suggestion that the only contact I had in Hollywood, in Los Angeles, she was a junior writer on Married with Children. I forget the name of her name. I think it was Devora or something like that. And she was like the sister of a college classmate of mine. And I called her up. I met her for coffee or lunch or something. And she was very snooty, and she was like, "Oh, I'm making $3,000 a week as a writer." She thought she was hot shit. And retrospectively, I realized she was no great shakes. She was just, she was no big deal. But anyway, the point. She told me that the best way to go about, keeping body and soul together was work as a office temp. And so I applied to several different companies that had office temps, and one of them hired me, and they started floating me around in different companies. Ironically, all of them in the entertainment business. I wound up being like a temp worker at the Writers Guild of America, also at the Disney Corporation. I remember my job there was, I was there for quite a number of weeks, as a matter of fact. My job there was to file these contracts, TV licensing contracts, international TV licensing contracts, in this enormous room. It was like a job straight out of like Terry Gilliam's Brazil, right? So I had this temp job, and at the same time I was writing. I was writing screenplays, I was writing prose fiction, I was trying to advance my career because that was the only way that I could do this. And so what I would do was I would get up bright and early, go to work. It took me like an hour to drive out to work like a dog until, 8 hours, 10 hours, however many hours I'd been assigned that day, drive home and get to my place and cook something real fast and write. That's what I did. I usually squeezed in about 2 to 3 hours of writing every evening. And what was great was that, see, during the day when I was driving to work and driving back from work, I was thinking about what I was going to write. And a lot of times when I was at work, I was assigned a computer and I'd like write up some pages or some notes or whatnot and print them up and delete them from the computer there and take the pages home with me and rewrite them, expand them, whatnot on my home computer. That's what my life was. So it was a two-track life. On the one hand, I had a shitty job that paid for my crappy apartment and for food and gas and cigarettes. And on the other hand, I was writing. The writing, of course, was the thing that I needed to in order to achieve financial independence, or at least a better income. But you see the point. Once you start on the fire path, once you start thinking to yourself that there's something that you want to pursue, mhm, um, to make you financially independent of a paycheck, then what you have to be doing is setting aside time and pursuing that. Because the trap of most men's lives is they have a predictable career and they have a steady salary that satisfies them enough. And this gradually erodes their will to achieve an independent outcome. Excuse me. Sorry about that. That's what happens with most guys. Most guys will tell you that they had some dream that they wanted to achieve and they came close to that dream and they failed to achieve it. They failed to achieve it, and they had all the opportunities, but they had the job, and then they got like more money, and they started doing better and whatnot, and so they slowly started to forego their ambitions and dreams. This is a natural part of life, but how could I put this? Well, to say it. See, we human beings are lazy fundamentally. We're lazy, and when we are comfortable enough, we don't act. That's the truth of the matter. Because see, if you're earning a decent living, if you're earning, I don't know, four grand a month, say, yeah, and your expenses are, 3,500 bucks a month, and you're living okay, and you've got a job that's not that hard, and you're just plugging along, well, it's unlikely that you're going to do much more. See? Because that's the reality of human nature. You'll just be like a wage slave. Yeah, because, it's comfortable enough. And guys, especially, more than women, guys are, it, guys, once we're in a routine that's relatively comfortable, we sort of like sit there, you know? People say that you fall into a rut, but it's not quite true. What happens is that, see, a guy needs relatively little to be happy, to be content. And so when things are, nice enough, we just sit on our asses. We don't do shit. That's the reality. Okay. And so in order to avoid this trap, you got to live like shit. And you got to live like shit, and you got to hoard money. Yeah. Because that's the only way to get out of the wage slave trap. The trap that catches, frankly, most men. Most men you will encounter in your life are not doing that which they love. And they kind of like hate the life that they have, but they're too lazy to break out of it. Mhm. Because they are comfortable enough. See? Like, look, when I was working as a temp, I had this temp job that I really fucking hated. And I remember the thing that drove me nuts was that I had to get up so goddamn early to get to work. I remember very clearly that in order to get to work in Burbank at the Disney studio, I had to get on the 405 freeway at, I think it was like 7 and 10 minutes. Because if I got on it at 7 and 12 minutes or later, I'd be late. It was like an hour and 15 minutes to get to work. But it was weird. Actually, now that I remember, it was a little bit different because if I got on the freeway at 7 and 10 minutes, I would get to work at like 8:15. It was roughly a little over an hour. But if I got on the freeway at 7 and 12 minutes, the flow of traffic was such that I'd arrive like at 8:50, almost 9 o'clock in the morning, you know? And, I hated it. I hated that I was on this time constraint, that my time was not my own. I hated that I was stuck driving 2 hours, at least 2 hours every day. I hated the life that I was living. It was kind of miserable. I was living in a hovel. It wasn't a hovel. It was this crappy apartment on a street called South Bentley Avenue. It was this Mexican gardener who had slowly over the years bought a number of rental properties. And they were like these 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom apartments that he had subdivided into individual apartments inside. Like each room was independent, and he would rent it out to students or independent workers and whatnot. I lived with a student who was a guy called Jeremy, who was a UCLA, he was just graduated from UCLA. And this other guy, whose name I forget, but I remember him very clearly, he used to clean out the cages at the labs at the UCLA Medical Center, or not the UCLA Medical Center, but he cleaned out the like the lab rats and shit like that. He would clean them out. And so the point is that, see, I lived with these two guys. Each of them had their own bedroom, and I had my own bedroom. And it was, how can I put it? It was kind of it wasn't kind of humiliating. It was completely humiliating to be living like this, to be living like still like a student, with these guys who were like older. I mean, the guy who cleaned out the cages, he had been like a drug addict, and he had gone, he'd sobered up, and he was like in his 30s, and he didn't have any fucking future, and he was very religious, and he'd found some solace in religion, and I had no ill will towards him. But I thought to myself, man, that is just so depressing to live that life. And I remember, I mean, now that I think about it, actually I haven't thought about it in a number of years. I remember being so afraid of becoming like that guy who cleaned the cages at the for the scientists at UCLA. I was just so terrified of becoming that made my life like kind of like a hell. And retrospectively, I'm really glad that I lived with that guy, because that guy kind of like, how could I put this? He was the negative example. But had I been living in the same place without these two guys, not in a 3-bedroom apartment, but just like an efficiency apartment. If it had been an efficiency apartment, and I'd had like a lot of distractions, like friends and hanging out and doing this, that, the other, it's likely I would have continued being a temp. And it might have reached a point where one of the companies I temped for decided to hire me full time. And I would have, worked for them, and I would have just been a little cog in some corporate machine. Yeah, of course. If I'd done the comfortable thing. See, that's the point. In order to avoid that trap of becoming a wage slave, you have to live like shit. You have to position your life in such a way, either deliberately or by happenstance, whereby there's some needle that's poking your ass every day. That's the best way to put it. There's something that's irritating you enough every day to get you going, to pursue the thing that you find of financial independence. This is, of course, remember, this is the big presupposition of this, that that the thing that you want to pursue is not the life that you're actually living. If, for instance, you want to be a doctor, being a doctor is the thing that all you ever dream about, and just being a doctor and going to medical school and all that, well, then the whole notion of fire is pointless. You see, it only matters if you are not living the life you really want to be living. Okay. Now, regardless of whether you pursue fire or not, you are going to need a retirement nest egg, which is kind of like Fire Mini, if you think about it. Because what's happened nowadays is that people who retired in the 60s and into the 70s and 80s, sort of, they might have had some retirement from their company or whatnot. But during the 90s and into the aughts and the teens and now the 20s, that's no longer the case. Everybody's supposed to have their own 401k. Everybody's supposed to look after their own interests. And Social Security is not going to get you far. It's $700 a month. Not many people can live on $700 a month. Let's face facts. So you're going to have to figure out a way to get the income. You're going to have to get, in a very real sense, for your retirement long term, you are going to have to get some sort of fuck you money. Not as much, but you are going to have to get it. Because, of course, this whole notion of FIRE, of financial independence and retire early, presupposes that you want to sort of like, retire in your 30s or 40s at the latest. Yeah. But if you're pursuing a career, a job, whatever, an activity that you really enjoy, you're going to keep on doing that until into your 60s, perhaps even your 70s if you're able to, And some activities You can do that no problem and earn a decent living at it. Not all, of course, it depends on the activity, of course. But beyond that, you will get to a point where you will need passive income, because what happens is that we are living so long that our productivity ends before our lives do. This was not always the case. In the past, men often as not would die while they were still productive. I mean, apart from like, say, like work accident or something like that, they drop dead of a heart attack or of some disease. You know, they might have cancer or appendicitis or whatever that would kill them off, you know, at age 50 or 60 when they were still working, when they were still had all their marbles. But now, of course, what happens is that because of modern medicine and all the rest of it, um, we are able to live an extraordinarily long amount of time. And the tragedy, of course, is that as we live so long, our brains are no longer as capable as they once were, and we can't work. Our brains and our bodies just don't allow us to, but we're existing still, you know. I mean, you got to think to yourself that your useful work lifespan really ends around 65 and 70, somewhere between those 2 years. And I'm talking about, you know, well, actually, I'm talking about both blue collar and white collar work. That is manual labor of whatever sort or intellectual labor. Because if you are somebody who's doing manual labor, you will have done manual labor for your entire career. And so by the time you reach 65, 70, your body's still going to be in shape, but after 70, it starts to deteriorate, just as your head starts to deteriorate after age 70. It's unavoidable, okay? Of course, there are exceptions. Of course, there are guys who go on into their 80s and their 90s, and they're sharp as all get out. There is this writer, Herman Wouk. He wrote The Caine Mutiny and The Winds of War and War and Remembrance. He was a fine novelist, won the Pulitzer Prize. He died at the age of 102 and he was still writing, you know, and he was writing pretty good shit at over age 100. Not kidding, okay? Yeah, they weren't bestsellers, but they were, you know, very dignified. I mean, he was like no slouch. And but that's an exception. You got to be thinking to yourself that age 65, 70, that's when you are not going to be productive anymore. And nowadays, actuaries believe that most people, the average lifespan is 80. So you're going to have between 10 and 15 years that you're going to have to finance. You're going to have to figure out how to finance that. Okay. So even if you don't pursue the notion of fire, of getting a big chunk of fuck you money early on, and then after that, retiring early so that you can pursue the thing that you truly love, even if you don't pursue fire, you're still going to have to create a nest egg, a retirement nest egg of some sort. And the smart thing, again, fire makes you think about this. If you can pursue the thing that you enjoy without having to get like a big chunk of fuck you money to finance you for the rest of your life, okay? That's great, but you still have to figure out how to get that nest egg. And therefore, you're going to have to figure out how many years are you going to need money for? Because if you don't pursue fire and you just keep on doing whatever job because you enjoy it and it gives you enough money, then you're gonna have to say to yourself, well, I'm gonna basically check out at 65, perhaps 70, but 65 for sure. Check out in the sense of no longer be working, okay, not dying, okay. I'm gonna be out of the picture, out of the work picture by age 65. Let's be conservative, or perhaps even more conservative. You can say, perhaps because of the profession you're in or the business you're in or whatnot, that really the top age is 60. That happens. Okay, so at 60, I'm gonna be over. And you know, you take one of these longevity tests that you can do online that they ask you a whole bunch of questions about how fit you are and your lifestyle choices and whatnot, and they give you an age as to how long you can expect to live. And those things are goddamn accurate. It's really surprising, but it's true. Anyway, you take one of those tests and you figure out, okay, so the test says that I'm going to live to age, say, 80. So I'm going to need to finance 20 years. Now, of course, I expect to own my own home by age 60, free and clear, but I'm going to have property taxes and I'm going to have to finance food and whatnot and random expenses. So I'm going to have to figure out how to get 20 years of that. And you're going to have to start putting that money together, which means basically that one way or another, you're going to have to start thinking to yourself as to how to put together a chunk of change that will last you a set number of years and that you don't have to work for. Okay? You're going to have to figure that out from the get-go. And a lot of people might say, oh, what do I do if I'm 40? Because all this stuff that I'm talking about, if you're 20 or 30, yeah, sure, no problem. You can start, figuring out how to do it, start scheduling it and whatnot. But a lot of people say, well, I'm 50. How do I do that? It's never too late. It's never too late. That's one of the things that a lot of guys, especially older guys who sort of like wake up later, and a quick parenthesis, our culture is sort of like uh, designed to make guys and women too wake up late and have this extended childhood, or not even childhood. It's more like being like kidult. Have you ever heard that portmanteau, kidult, kid, adult, kidult? That basically you're in your 20s and your 30s and even your 40s and you're still just fucking around, fooling around, not being serious about life, just going randomly from thing to thing without having an overarching plan. Our society sort of like encourages that because, of course, somebody who's a kidult will give in to every impulse and will not control his impulses. And therefore, he will buy shit that he doesn't need. He will buy shit and spend money on shit that is not really necessary or might even be counterproductive. The society is encouraging all of us to be kidults, in all the capitalistic countries. The only people who are not kidults are people who realize that they have some goal, some plan that they want to achieve. Considering fire is one of the methods by which you can stop being a kidult and start being a real adult, because you have to, because resources are limited. Time, most especially, is limited. So you have to figure out these questions early on. I think that the key issue insofar as fire is the notion of pursuing that thing that you really love, whether that thing that you really love can provide you with a steady income. I loved writing, but I realized that it was such an up and down profession. That was a key issue. And as I got older, I started getting more serious about putting together my own little nest egg. And I don't want to brag. I don't want to draw negative karma towards me, but I'm very lucky that I have basically fuck you money. It's not a lot. It's not like hundreds of millions of dollars or even tens of millions of dollars, but it's enough that, if I decide to just jerk off 24/7, I'd be okay until the day I died. I could pretty much financially achieve all the objectives I need to. See? Uh, but that kind of life of doing nothing, which I have lived, by the way, I have lived a few years, more than a few years, where I basically did nothing, where I was just basically farting around. And it's a miserable life. It's a truly miserable life. And that's why I'm kind of like ambivalent about fire. Because, see, when you are not financially independent, when you are forced to pursue money, especially if you're independent, not like an employee, but like just you're an independent man in the sense of just pursuing business opportunities and whatnot, and you don't have fuck you money, you work harder. When you're not comfortable, when there's that needle poking you in the ass all the time, because you are not truly secure, you pursue things harder, you are more motivated because of fear, because of desperation, because of concern that you will wind up like a hobo living under a bridge. And oddly enough, too, you are happier. And that's something else that people in fire don't really talk about. It sounds great to make a shit ton of money by the time you're 35, and at age 36 say, fuck you, I'm not going to work anymore, I'm just going to live off my passive income, You know, spend maybe 8 hours every month to make sure that my passive income is all arranged properly and there are no hiccups, right? And just the rest of my time, just fart around and do whatever I want, quote unquote, whatever I want. Whatever I want winds up being sleeping late, watching TV, jerking off, and doing pretty much nothing. You'd be surprised how many times this happens to guys who pursue fire. That's why I'm ambivalent about it. You're pursuing fire and you just waste time. You waste time. You go randomly shopping to some, mall or whatever because you don't have much human contact because you don't have any job because you're just, living off of this passive income, right? And so because of it, there's no real reason for you to join in any activity, yeah? And so you wind up, blowing your days. You wind up going to shopping malls just for the company of people, to have people around, waiting for the weekend so that you can hang out with your friends because your friends all have jobs, they have shit to do, and literally killing weeks of your life doing nothing because you're comfortable enough. And that's the pitfall of fire. It sounds great to be 36 years old, sitting on a fuck you money of say 5 million bucks that, at say 6% a year. What's that? 6% of 5 million is 300,000 a year, right? $300,000 a year. I don't know about you. I can live very well on $300,000 a year. Most people can. It sounds terrific, but it makes you slothful. It makes you really miserable. And what happens is a lot of times you start thinking back on the times that you really had to work, that you really had to struggle to survive, to make it. And you look back on those times fondly and you realize that those were the times when you were most alive. See? Because you have to make the distinction between living and existence. And fire, many times, makes it sound really great that you can just retire early. But ultimately, you're just going to be existing. You're not going to be living. And living, often as not, is when you are pursuing something, especially something difficult, and where the odds of success are not guaranteed. A lot of guys who pursue fire, they reach it, and then they're miserable. No different from those guys who had some job and they retired at 65 or whenever, and they had a heart attack a month later. Yeah. They've got nothing to live for. Let me tell you from experience, there is nothing worse than having a life where there's nothing to live for, just existing, and there's no point in your life. I have to admit that part of the reason that I'm doing the online thing, I don't need to do it. I mean, I set myself the challenge that, I wanted to do a set of content for my kid. That was the original goal, to create some content so that my son, who is currently 5, when he's 35, I'll likely be dead. In 30 years' time, he'll be 35, but I'll be 82. So either I'll be dead or I probably won't have all my marbles. So I figured that I'm going to do content so that he can see it. And see, after about a year or so, I pretty much achieved all the content I wanted to achieve. And I was going to shut down my channel, but then the channel started like gearing up. It became suddenly popular. And because of that, I started thinking to myself, well, how far can I take it? How popular will it get? And I kept on producing content. And what happened was that I watched as it, kept on growing, and then it stopped because YouTube put their foot on my shoulder. But what happened was that at that time, all of a sudden, I realized that I really enjoyed it. There had been some hiatuses I'd done, and during those times that I was on hiatus from the channels, I was not miserable. That's the wrong word. I was perfectly fine, but I didn't achieve anything. And the fact that I was doing content, it gave me a reason to do shit. And had it not been for the channel, I'd be doing nothing. The CRP channel, the GL channel, and the Patreon channel. And I'm not gonna lie to you, like doing this stuff is not, it's not that it's particularly difficult. It's the routine, it's the doing something, the pressure to produce content. That's it, the pressure. It's not the difficulty, it's the pressure. If you live a life without any pressure, if you pursue this notion of financial independence, retire early, you're going to live your life without any pressure. And you're going to be miserable. Okay? And so, how can I put it? It sounds as if I'm saying that fire is a bad thing, even though I myself have done it, but it kind of is. It kind of is. And you see how. And of course, when you are desperate for cash and you're broke as fuck and you don't know what to do, and you're just like, your life is like whack-a-mole, things pop up and you just whack them down and you're like desperate all the time. Yeah. You look at somebody like me saying this shit and you say, oh, fuck you, you got it easy, right? Well, yeah, but once you get to the point where you can retire early, you look back very fondly on those times in your life when you were just playing whack-a-mole. That pressure, it gave you a reason for being. This is why Warren Buffett, as I said at the beginning of this broadcast, continues to work. He can retire early. That's no trick at all for him. He's rich enough to do it. And on top of that, he's not a particularly, he's a frugal guy. He doesn't have any particularly expensive tastes, right? He could retire early, sure. Decades ago. He could have retired decades ago. But it's the pressure. And that's why I find this whole notion of fire very intriguing, because it forces you to evaluate what is a good life. What is a life worth living? Of course, you want to be thinking to yourself of strategies that you can achieve financial independence and whatnot. That's perfectly fine. You go online, you plug in FIRE, financial independence, retire early, and you're going to come up with a whole bunch of crap telling you, do this, do that, go here, go there, here's a forum, there's a forum, the Reddit, subreddit, blah, blah, blah. And they're all going to be talking about like, ooh, real estate. Real estate is how you achieve financial independence. No, like day trading. Day trading is how you achieve financial independence, blah, blah, blah. And by the way, don't get into day trading now. I would suggest everybody and their mother is doing it right now. Okay, this is going to end in tears. Okay, because people have been setting up these Robinhood accounts and they've got all the time in the world of just, because of the lockdown, they're just playing and they think it's like monopoly money and shit. This shit is going to end in tears. I don't know when, but it's going to end in tears. And a lot of analysts, financial professionals, right, have been analyzing these Robinhood trades and whatnot. And they're saying all these fuckers lose money. They're playing against the casino and the game is rigged. They're going to get fucked over. And they, so don't fall for that trap. But anyway, all these FIRE forums tell you different strategies, different things to acquire this fuck you money, to acquire passive income, to acquire financial independence. You got to figure that out for yourself, okay? In my own case, I'll tell you right now, I am invested in real estate, in income producing real estate, apartments, office space, whatnot, different stuff in different places, and they produce an income, and it's an income such that it is more than enough for my family and myself and pursuing the life that I need. That was me. And I have actually several rental managers because these properties are in different countries, and so it's just easier to have rental managers in each of those countries supervising everything. And yeah, I lose, depending on the country, between 15 and 25% of my rental income, but I don't have to worry about this shit. I don't have to worry about some leak or whatever the fuck in one of these apartments or any problem of any sort. I just, it's the manager's problem, and that's great. But the point I'm trying to make here is that, see, there are different paths to financial independence, but you want to figure out why you are pursuing it. Mhm. There's a guy I watched on YouTube the other day, a guy called Stephen Graham, I think his name is, okay? And he he started as a real estate agent, and he has made a shit ton of money, and he's a young guy. He's like 30 years old or something like that. And he's made, it seems like his net worth is like up there in like the mid seven figures, like around 5 million bucks that he earned all on his own by way of real estate deals and commissions and then shrewd investments and whatnot. And good on him. Good on him. I mean, and he actually did a video recently, which is the video I saw, where he broke down how much money he made per year. It was really interesting, and how he made money each year. And it was great. It was very interesting. I have no ill will towards the guy at all. Okay, I want to make that really clear. And I'm not shitting on the guy in any way. I respect him. He's a guy who decided, I'm going to make money, and that's that. He clearly doesn't give a shit about the things that he is doing in order to make money. It's just a grind to him. That is perfectly fine. There are certain aspects of what he's doing that he enjoys, but for the most part, it seems to an outside observer that he's just grinding it out. And that's perfectly fine. But it's not the way you want to be living your life. This guy, Graham, he's 30 years old. Perhaps he has some goals, some dreams, some ambitions that what he wants to do with his life that he figured would not make him an income. And whatsoever those, excuse me, hang on a second. I swallowed a bug, to quote Marlon Brando. Anyway, perhaps he has certain ambitions that he figures would never be financially successful. Like in his videos, he's got like this drum kit behind him, sort of like in the background. Maybe that's what he likes to do. He likes to play shitty, cheesy, rock and roll on the drums. And he knows that he could never make a real living at it, but it's something that he really enjoys. There's nothing wrong with that, of course. And so he figures, fuck it, I'll just make a shit ton of money from this real estate crap, grind it out until I have my fuck you money, and then I'll devote myself full time to being a drummer, in wedding bands, basically. That's perfectly fine. I mean, and I would respect that, because the guy made the decision that he couldn't make it, or he couldn't earn a living or earn enough money to have the living standard that he wanted by way of playing drums in wedding bands. I'm making this shit up. I have no idea what his ambitions are. Okay, I have no idea. But the point I'm trying to make is a serious one. See, he figured out that being a drummer for a shitty wedding band was not going to make him the money that he needed for the lifestyle that he wanted. Therefore, he set aside a number of years and worked absolutely at top speed to grind out his fuck you money. That guy, in this semi-hypothetical, because now at this point, I've made up so much shit about it that it's really hypothetical, but bear with me. In that situation, fire makes absolute sense. It's like a sprint. It's like you saying to yourself, okay, I want to be a drummer at some shitty wedding band, or I want to be a woodworker and fuck around on woodworking all day long, or whatever the fuck. And so you say to yourself, I am going to sprint for the next 5, 10, or 15 years, however long it takes, to put together that nest egg that allows me to do the thing that I really love. That is an adult decision. But to say, I'm going to pursue financial independence, retire early, so that I can get a boatload of cash and then just sit on my ass and do whatever I want to, that's an immature decision. And I would strongly urge you against it. Because when you say, oh, I'm just going to do whatever I want to, that means I'm going to do jack shit. I'm just going to watch TV and jerk off and drink too much and stay up late and then wake up late and just like see the days pass by without any kind of activity, without any kind of accomplishment. That's a slothful life. You don't want to do that. So figure out what you want to do with your life. Figure out the thing that you enjoy doing. Because, see, women want to be someone. They want the feeling of being something. They want an identity. But men, we are most happy when we are doing something, whatsoever that may be. Have you ever met a guy who says that, yeah, I love being X? No, they say, I love doing X. It's the doing. We are doers by evolution. Evolution made us like this. See, women, they need to be someone, because being someone is really a social construct. It depends on the other people around you. See, if you are this or you are that, if you are a mother or you are a whatever, it's what other people consider you. Okay, it's the social relation that you have with other people, and therefore how you fit in the social hierarchy. And women want that, because for women, human relationships are the most important thing, because of course women need other people to help them insofar as child rearing, because a woman on her own cannot provide enough calories for herself and her child, for her infant children. It's impossible. She needs other people. She needs a social environment. That's why for women, a social environment is so important. But a man, what does he do? A man wants a woman, so he pursues a woman. A man wants food, so he pursues food. We are people who pursue. We are people who do shit. We chase, see? And that's why you want to be thinking about fire, so that you can figure out, what do you want to chase after? See what I'm saying? Okay, I hope this is clear. I hope this helps you out. And now let's go to comments and questions. So I'm popping up the questions box and throwing the floor open to people's questions. And how many people we got? Oh, we got 70 people. Oh, nice audience. You got any questions? You can hit me up in the question box or raise your hand. Nobody wants to raise their hand? Oh, Alexa Satezalo. Hello, Alexa, are you there? Hang on, let's see if.
Hi, can you hear me, Coach?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's up?
Good, man. Long-time fan. I just wanted to ask you if you thought America was a safe place for me to park my money, and if I should be moving it out.
That's a good question. You know the #1 money laundering country in the world? You know which one it is?
I'm gonna guess Switzerland. No.
Guess again.
America.
America, that's right. America is the #1 money laundering country in the world. Okay.
Really?
Yes. It is actually very easy to use the United States to launder money. A lot of people who don't know figure that laundering money is something that happens in like Switzerland or the Virgin Islands or Panama or some shit like that. No. It happens in good old USA.
Nice.
Because of various factors that are not relevant here. But the point is, see, the United States is a very safe country to put your assets in. Okay. The government is not going to take them very easily. They're going to have a really good reason to take them. But the fact is, if you dot all your I's and cross all your T's insofar as documentation and don't fuck around with the IRS, you'll be fine. Yeah, nobody's going to take your money away in the United States. Okay. As to whether it is profitable to invest in the United States, that's a different question. Okay, it depends on the asset class, it depends on the business, it depends on, a whole host of things. But like the safety of the United States long term, sure, don't worry about it. And the way you do it, if you want to invest in the United States, what you do is you set up a limited liability company in a state like Delaware that has no state income tax. And you set up there. And if I were you, if you're serious about it, investing in the United States, the way to do it is to create a limited liability company, an LLC, in Delaware.
Okay.
And you can just Google Delaware LLC creation, attorneys, that kind of stuff, and you'll quickly figure it out. It's not hard.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Can you do this as a Canadian? Because I'm technically a Canadian citizen.
Yeah,
Or,
sure. You can do it with anybody.
okay. Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect. Thank you.
no
Thanks,
problem.
Coach. That was that.
All the best, man. Sorry, I'm eating a cookie. Arash, oops, Arash Ganbari. How's it going, Arash? What's on your mind?
Yes. Hey, Coach. Can you hear me?
Yeah, what's on your mind, man?
Awesome. Just wanted to thank you for the videos you do. It's been very helpful to me in my life.
So
Yeah,
glad.
just wanted to ask you, what countries do you personally invest in yourself for real estate? Because I'm looking to get started. Just wanted to know, like, what countries you would recommend or you've invested in personally.
The countries you want to invest in are countries where you have a high return on investment. Okay, it doesn't matter where. Mhm.
Oh,
When you,
okay.
whenever you figure out the return on investment in a piece of real estate, you have to be thinking to yourself of not only how much money is coming in from the tenant. You also have to be figuring out the issue of property tax and any other taxes or fees that you will have to pay as the owner. Because of course
Hmm.
there are some fees and costs that are borne by the tenant. For instance, electricity. The tenant pays for that, obviously, right?
Okay.
But there are other fees or expenses that the owner has to shoulder, and you have to factor those in. Always be careful about those expenses because a lot of times a real estate venture can seem to be very, very good until you realize that there are, like, say, municipal taxes or state taxes or whatnot that make it a bad investment. So you have to
Hmm.
figure that out. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
And so I'll tell you right now, okay, this is not investment advice. Okay. I just want to make
Hmm.
it clear. But in my opinion, now real estate is a terrible investment because the
Okay.
prices are still high, but the rental market is very soft and it's going to get softer. That is, there are going to be fewer tenants. And so
Hmm.
it'll take a while for owners to realize that the tenants are not coming back because a lot of people, especially in Western Europe, because of the lockdown, they realize that they can work remotely. I'd been thinking to myself that the remote working was going to become more and more popular over time. And I was surprised that it hadn't become more popular. And then, of course, retrospectively, I realized it needed a trigger. And the
Hmm.
COVID lockdown was that trigger. And so because of it, now people are realizing, hey, I don't have to go to work. I can just work at home. And a lot of companies are thinking, hey, I don't have to have a huge office. I can essentially outsource the office to my employees' homes.
Hmm.
So companies are going to downsize their offices and workers are going to be happy to be working from home. And the businesses too, because it turns out that workers are more productive when they work from home, and the workers are happier to be working from home because they don't have to commute. And
Hmm.
therefore, workers will start to realize, hey, I don't need to live in an expensive city. I can go to a cheap suburb or even to a different state. And a lot of
Hmm.
companies are going to be saying, hey, I don't need to have an office with 20 offices. I can have an office with just 2 offices in a conference room, and that's it, you know? And so that's what's going
Okay.
to happen. And therefore, the real estate markets in cities, in both commercial, office space, and residential space, the the rental prices are going to start to go down because of lack of demand,
Hmm.
but it'll take a while for the prices to begin to diminish as well. You see? And
Okay.
so that's what's going to be happening, and it's going to take a while. It's not something instantaneous because you see, if I'm renting a property right now, I have, like, say, just to make a simple example, I own an efficiency apartment that I paid, I don't know, I'm making stuff up. I paid
Hmm.
$100,000 for it. I have this efficiency apartment and I rent it out for $500 a month, right? I
Hmm.
don't have a renter 1 month. I don't have a renter 2 months. So I'll say, hey, I'll rent it for 400. Because even though I'm lowering the rent from 500 to 400, that is a discount of 20%.
Hmm.
If I go another 2 months with the property vacant, the loss of annual revenue will be greater than 20%. If I go 4 months, without a renter, that's a loss of 33% of my rental income for that property. So it pays me to lower the rent that I'm asking rather than to have the property go vacant another month, you see? And
Okay.
so I'll instantly lower the price. I'll lower the price right now or in the next few months, right? As the property remains vacant. But insofar as the price is concerned, it'll take me a long time to start to lower the price if I decide to sell it. Because I'll be like, no, I just have to be a little more patient. It'll come around. Somebody will buy it, you know? If I were to decide to sell that apartment at 100,000 and I put it on the market right now and nobody buys it, nobody makes an offer, and then another month, and then another month, and then another month, well, I'll keep holding it at 100,000 because I don't want to lose money on it. Yeah. But if it goes a year, then I'll be like, oh, you know, this shit isn't going to sell. I've been trying to sell it for 100,000 for a year, so I'm going to lower the price. I'm going to lower the price. Fine. I mean, of course, it's not going to take a year. It'll take a few months, but you see my point.
Yeah.
People are much more reluctant to lower the price of sale than they are to lower the rent. Because rent, you see the immediate impact, whereas a sale, it takes longer. But when the markets generally in the Western democracies, especially after November, okay, this election, irrespective of who wins, it doesn't matter who wins, but in the Western democracies, especially the United States, a lot of rental markets will become a lot more honest about prices, sale prices, after November. You see? So yeah, that's my thinking at this point. So my recommendation would be to not get into real estate at this time, because I think prices are just going to go lower. You know, they're going to go a lot lower. Yeah. I hope this
Okay.
helps.
Yeah, for sure. Makes sense. Makes sense. And
Yeah.
thanks again for doing what you do.
Oh,
It's
my
really,
pleasure, Arash. Thank you very much for listening. Yeah, thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Take it easy. Let me see. Uh, okay, RM has an interesting question. Let me hit RM. RM, are you there? Hello, RM.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. You had a really interesting question. Why don't you hit us all with your question?
Yeah. So I have a friend. We have been friends for past 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
and he has started a. He's saying he wants to start a algorithmic trading platform,
Yeah.
and is asking me to help him with programming.
Yeah.
But I've seen recently some red flags, let's say, that I'm not sure how to vet the situation. So he's a smart kid. He has his PhD. I am a PhD. He is emotionally unstable most of the, not most of the, I've seen him being emotionally unstable many times. And
Emotionally
that
what? I'm sorry?
unstable,
Unstable.
like,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. No. Like
he
he's nuts.
he has
Okay.
very ups and, he has a lot of ups and downs, mostly downs, but ups and downs.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
that's some concern. And also, he was telling me that he has made his living for the past year through trading only.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I just learned that he was employed actually until January. He's saying that he quit the job at his will, but at this point I'm not sure about that. And we are not in the same city anymore. He's like miles
Yeah.
away now.
Forget about it. I mean, it's simple as that. Look, if a guy is a liar, yeah, and you think he's full of shit, I mean, look, more often than not, if you suspect that somebody's full of shit, they are. Okay. And why are you going to be wasting your time with them? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Somebody comes across to you as full of shit, you're like, okay, good knowing you. Take it easy. Of course, you don't have a fight with them. Never fight with people. Okay,
yeah,
that's a mistake. Just gently phase them out. Okay. Yeah, and chalk it up to experience. Okay, that's the whole thing. Experience means that you are going to come across. You will find that you will come across more shady people than straight people. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's more normal. So you got to keep that in mind. Yeah. So
So he
yeah,
has
keep that
had
in mind.
some. Uh, so he has had some excuses, as in he was not proud of what he was doing, so that's why he didn't tell me that he was working for someone else. And
There are always excuses and shit like that. I mean, look, you got to analyze any person that you meet. You got to analyze them like, what are the pros of this person and the cons of this person? Okay.
Mhm.
Now, if the pros are so unique or special, well, then okay, there might be something there. But if the pros are like no big deal, or maybe you yourself have those pros, and the cons are the guy's, he's a fabulist and a liar. Jesus, man, there's no argument. Okay, just keep away from him.
That's that's the ultimate, right?
Yeah, I mean, come on, don't. This isn't something you don't have to debate stuff.
Hmm.
Okay, you got to realize that people will come and go in your life. The important thing is to increase the volume of people who come and go in your life.
Right.
See, I mean, I don't want to sound like an asshole, RM, okay? But the fact that you're focusing on this guy who's obviously shady, I mean, just in your question, he sounds shady as fuck and somebody that you should avoid. The fact that you're dwelling on him probably means that you don't have enough people flowing through your life, and
You are to the point.
you have to increase the volume of people in your life, so that way you're not going to obsess about some guy who's clearly wrong for you. You see what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Right.
Yeah. So you have to put yourself out there and interact with more people. Perhaps someone like him who is stable and honest is somebody you want to be associated with. So go looking for that kind of person. Figure out where they would be, where they would hang out, where you can find them.
Mhm.
Because clearly the fact that you're bringing this guy up, you are interested in that he was pursuing some venture. You're just not interested in pursuing that venture with a guy like him because he seems nuts, right?
Yeah.
But you have that impulse. So find more people who are similar to him in the good qualities, but completely different from him insofar as the bad qualities. They are out there. You have to increase the volume of people coming into your life. Okay?
Yeah. Makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. Hope this helps. Take it easy.
Yes. Thank you. Have a good one.
Humphrey Chen has a interesting question, but he's also saying that he can't hear. So that's kind of interesting. Humphrey, are you there? Humphrey? The sound is off because Humphrey is saying that the sound is off and he can't hear. I think it's Humphrey's computer or something, or his connection or whatnot, because I just unmuted. Oh, there's Humphrey. Humphrey, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, for a moment I couldn't hear you. The sound was off. Now it's okay. It's back to normal.
Okay. So anyway, you had a question about WeWork. Why didn't you hit me about it?
I was thinking because you're saying that because of telecommuting, it has become more and more common. So the WeWork business model is based on people gathering together and sharing the office space. So if that's the case, don't you think that the WeWork business model wouldn't work anymore? That's what I was thinking about.
Oh, that's really interesting because, I don't know if you know that I have an office at WeWork here in Amsterdam.
I didn't know that. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
new. It's new to me here.
Yeah, I do have an office at WeWork, and I'm moving from it. I'm moving to another office sharing space, a place here also in Amsterdam called Fosbury. Look it up. It's beautiful. It's this beautiful location in a old hospital. It's just lovely. But anyway, um, WeWork is a interesting company because it's all kinds of fucked up. It's all kinds of bullshit. They sold themselves. I forget the name of the guy who pushed it. It's basically, look, an office sharing company is a good business because there are a lot of businesses that do need offices. In my own case, for instance, I have an office there because I needed a separate location where I could do work away from my house. I needed to just get out because many years ago, back in '98, when I was living in New York, I moved to New York. I moved into this big loft, in New York City, in Lower Manhattan. And I had one half of the loft to live and the other half to work. And what happened was that either I'd be working insane hours or I'd go long stretches of not working at all. And it was just a very unhappy situation. I realized I needed a separate place where to work. And after that, I started setting up my life where I always had one place where I lived, and every morning I'd go somewhere to work separate from my home. And that was always a smart move. So anyway, WeWork, I have an office there because of this reason. There are a lot of people who have offices there because they need an office. For instance, my neighbor there at WeWork is an accountant. She and another accountant work there in a two-person office, and they need a separate office. And so there are some occupations where it will be separate, because what happens is that these two accountants, they have to communicate so much during the day and talk back and forth about different issues that it's not really practical to do it online. And also, I talked to her and she was of the opinion that she also preferred to work away from home because she has children and whatnot, and so just less distraction. But that's not very common, okay? And so far as the WeWork model is concerned, there will always be office sharing businesses. WeWork is fascinating because SoftBank got taken for a ride. It was a big old scam because WeWork sold itself as like a tech company. It's not a tech company, it's just a real estate company. And there are lots of real estate companies like it, like Regus. They are extremely successful, and they don't what you call it, they make a lot of money. They're very profitable, and they don't pretend to be a tech company as WeWork did. And WeWork is a money loser, okay? But it's because of mismanagement. It's not because the business model is a bad one, okay? Regus, which is the #1 competitor of WeWork, or WeWork is more the competitor of Regus because Regus has been around for decades. That's a very successful business, very profitable, and will continue to be profitable. WeWork is not profitable because they, in order to get volume, they rented out offices very cheaply, and so they incurred huge losses, and they expanded too quickly, getting into enormous debt. And so because of that, the company in any downturn was going to be vulnerable. And we had a downturn, and so now they're incredibly vulnerable. And I can tell you there, because I'm there, roughly half of the offices are empty. You can get a good deal. By the way, at all of these office rental places, you can get a very good deal, because at Fosbury, I needed a change of scenery from WeWork. I just got tired of it and whatnot. And so I went to Fosbury and I made a fairly absurd offer. I basically asked for a 40% discount for an office space there. And they were like, okay. So it was great for me, you know? So actually more, I think it was basically 50%, you know? So if this is to say that at this time, real estate is vulnerable and you can get really good deals. I locked in this good deal at Fosbury for the next 6 months. And frankly, I think that at the end of 6 months, it'll probably be even cheaper, you know? I think that real estate in cities is just going to continue to deteriorate. And I think that the good times are over insofar as that's concerned, you know? But that's my opinion, and it's, you know, worth as much as the opinion of any other person. But yeah. Okay. Does this help you out? Does this answer your question, RM?
Yes, thank you very much. Sorry, just sidetrack a little bit. You
Sure.
said that you rented a place with WeWork at Amsterdam.
Yep.
Rotterdam is actually pretty close to Amsterdam as well. It's not too far away, and there's less population density over there. Why don't you consider Rotterdam?
Because the commute time. See, I walk to my office in Amsterdam.
Hello.
Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me? Okay. Humphrey's, something happened with Humphrey, and so because he can't hear me, but I could hear him, so I had to mute him because he was asking hello, hello. To answer the question, Rotterdam is what, about an hour away by train. Why would I live in Amsterdam and commute to Rotterdam? That doesn't make sense. Yeah. But anyway, let's move on. Oh yeah, okay. Here's Sam Payne has an interesting question. Sam, let me unmute you here. Are you there, Sam? Hello, Sam, are you there? Oh, there he is. Sam, are you there? Sam, are you there? Hello? Hello, Sam. Okay, his little microphone is green, but I can't hear him, so I assume that nobody else can. So I'll read out his question for you all. He asked, CRP, in one of your videos on being a wage slave, you said a lawyer making $360,000 a year was not real money. Can you explain? Yeah, sure. See, $360,000 a year means $30,000 a month. Okay, now that sounds like a lot of money. Yeah, but see, how can I put this? He was making 360,000. I guess I forget. I know that I was talking about a lawyer who was sort of like a slave. Okay, but when I say that $360,000 a year is not real money, in the sense that it's not enough money that you can accumulate it and say fuck you to everybody else forever. Okay, how can I put this? If you're earning $30,000 a month, that sounds objectively like a lot of money. But if you're earning $30,000 a month, a lot of times your expenses are going to be up there, especially if you have a family, a nice car, a nice house. You'll burn through $20,000 of that easily without breaking a sweat. Okay. And you figure, well, $10,000 is a lot of money that's left over. You can save that, right? Yeah, sure. But you save it for 12 consecutive months. That's $120,000. $120,000. How much money can you get out of that if you invest it? Say at 6%, $120,000 at 6% is $7,200 a year. $7,200 a year, that's roughly what? $600 a month. $600 a month. $600 a month is nothing. Okay. If your expenses are $20,000 a month and you invest the leftover $10,000 a month, $120,000 a year at 6%, which is very decent, that's an income of $600. That barely puts a dent in your monthly expenses of $20,000. You see? So you have to understand that. How can I put it? The way you become a wage slave is when they are paying you just enough to live well, but not so much that you could quit your job. See? Lawyers are classic wage slaves because they make good money. Yeah, they do. But of course, they make good money, but they are obliged to dress a certain way, drive a certain car, live a certain way. And it's not that they're obliged. Nobody's like forcing them to live in an expensive house or whatnot, but they find themselves living in such an expensive place. It's a natural evolution. And so because of it, they sort of like get enough to live very well, but not enough to be free. And that's a wage slave. See? A wage slave is getting enough money from his job that he's living well. He's getting materially all that he wants, but he cannot break away. He's shackled to this position, and he has to perform in this position. If he doesn't perform in this position, he will be he'll be fired. He'll lose that income, and if he loses that income, he'll lose that whole lifestyle that he's grown accustomed to. And so, what do you want to do? Do you want to do that? Do you want to be a slave like that? That's the question. See, I certainly don't, but that's me. And again, see, if the guy was a lawyer and he really enjoyed being a lawyer, that would be very different. I know a couple of lawyers who really enjoy being lawyers. It's not like onerous on them. They enjoy it very much. And so for them, they don't feel like they're wage slaves. They think that they're having a great time, having work that they really enjoy, and everything's copacetic. See? But if you don't enjoy the work, that's the point. If you don't enjoy the work, but you're doing it, then you're a wage slave. See, you're doing it because you get enough money to live well, but not enough to be free. Yeah. John Smith has a question here. Let me find John and unmute him so that he can ask it. John, are you there? John, are you there? I'm not sure. There's
Oh,
John. John,
there.
how's it going?
Hi there. Hi, Mr. Lear. I had a question. Been making a living as a day trader, I mean, for like 2 years, but
Good
everywhere
for
I
you.
go, that there's no respect for the profession. Um, there's really, a lot of work to do, a lot of research. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people just get as gambling, but that's not the case. But I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in, because I mean, when you hedge your investments, I mean your trades, I mean you're forced to limit your risk, and then you have to do all types of analysis. But
Mm-hmm.
this this Robinhood fad, I mean, it seems a lot of people are getting into it, and they don't have real training. Just like you have a lot of plumbers, a lot of people trying to be plumbers, they're not certified. They try to.
Well,
Um,
my thinking is, John, that you should think of it like people who claim to be professional poker players. There are people who actually are professional poker players, and they make a living at it, a very, very good living at it, for many years. Those people, I don't have a problem with them. They're real professional poker players. But then there are people who, like, for instance, like somebody like me, I play poker once in a while, right? I'm gonna have to mute you because there's like feedback. Okay, so hang on. Oh, something happened there, John. But anyway, um, I personally play poker, but if I were to claim to be a professional poker player, yeah, I'd last just, a few months. I'd lose it all because, of course, I'm not a professional, right? I suppose that's what the criticism I was making of day traders, that there are a lot of day traders, quote unquote, now who are not real day traders. They're just people who are LARPing as day traders, because you tell me that you've worked at it for 2 years. So, and you've earned a living at it for 2 years. So you're the real deal. But most of the people who are calling themselves day traders are people who've got nothing better to do. They got a lot of time on their hands. Their money is dwindling. And so they jump on this Robinhood bandwagon, you see, especially because it's so goddamn easy with the goddamn app, and the costs of trade are so low that, they're gambling. Okay. And that's what's going on. John, I am not muting you. I think that your microphone went kaput. Oh,
yes,
there you're back.
myself, I mean, to stop the feedback, definitely appreciate it. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
it's more difficult.
I'm not putting you down because, I mean, you're telling me that you've worked at it for 2 years, then you're the real deal. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but I appreciate all your help. I've definitely watched all your videos. I think they're wonderful. So,
Well, thank you so
uh,
much. I appreciate that, John.
and then it's a tough environment that we're living in. We're probably expecting stagflation on the next third or fourth quarter, this year. So we
Yeah, it's
might
gonna
see
be.
the prices at the supermarkets go on. Already commodities already starting to go up by 3-4%. If you watch, the price of lumber and price of gold. Just seeing gold, I mean, it's about 1900 now. That was the same price it was about 11 years ago. But yeah,
Yeah.
great opportunity. But
Yeah. My fear about precious metals is that it's a small market, that it's easy to manipulate. And I think the central banks, they have a vested interest in torpedoing the price of precious metals, so as to sort of like, because everybody looks at precious metals as a signal for incipient inflation. And I think that the central banks therefore have a vested interest in pushing down the price of commodities, especially precious metals, so as to fool the market into thinking that inflation is not on the way. See, that's my concern. Yeah. Do you
right.
agree? Do you see the point I'm making here? Do you agree with it or disagree?
Well, what happens is that they're trying to, we had a deflationary shock, just now by the COVID crisis, and the only way they see the solution, the central banks see, as they did back in 2008, was just to for the central bank to increase their balance sheets. So we're looking at, they're pretty much monetizing debt. But that's the only tool that they've got. But if you see the money supply in other countries, I don't know if you're familiar with the economy of Argentina or countries like Venezuela, their monetary supply, the M2, or just increased by sometimes every year by 33, sometimes by 33%. So that you can have a booming stock market with an increase of the M2 money supply, but that means a decrease in standard of living for the population. You look at cases like Argentina or Venezuela. I mean, you don't see a currency that's worthless, but if you look at the graph of the stock market, it's definitely rising, but that doesn't mean that it has any real value. So it's kind of a dangerous experiment what the Fed is trying to do now, but and it's very risky to go in equities at this point. But what happens is that most traders are momentum traders. They're looking for the big movements, and that's where they try to automate. They try to use the price signals. But eventually, the most successful at this, you have to be a contrarian, and that's really difficult. Not everybody is able to master, that point of view. But we have very trying times ahead, at least for the U.S. economy. I don't see anything good coming out of it, at least on the third quarter this year.
We have all kinds of problems. We have a real political problem. It's not so much an economic problem. We have a political problem. And that has to get sorted out first. This election is going to sort out so many issues. And so you're just gonna have to sit tight for this election. And until this election passes, we're at July right now. We've got August, September, October, November. We got 4 months. 3.5 months to be precise. We have to wait and see how that shakes out, And I think that, look, the best outcome would be for Trump and the Republicans to just completely demolish the Democrats. And I think that is a real possibility, by the way. I don't buy the polls. I think that it's very likely that Trump will just annihilate the left, and the left will be like, holy shit, we totally fucked this up, and sort of like wake up. That's the best case scenario I can think of. But I don't think that's. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen, and I think also that the November election is going to be contested with lawsuits and a whole nightmare. I think it's going to be just a total nightmare, and so I'm just waiting for that to play out. I think the United States is fucked. By the way, I just think the U.S. is fucked.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Now the thing is that the market has not priced the Biden victory yet. We're expecting to have Elizabeth Warren probably acting as either Attorney General. I think that's on his short list, or the Secretary of the Treasury, and then Kamala Harris is like first on his VIP list. So we're looking for a very left-leaning type of government.
I think it's going to be a disaster. If Biden wins, it's going to be a complete disaster, and the vice president is going to be the president. It's simple as that, because he is senile. Look at him. It's a disaster, and I hope that the American public sort of like realizes this. But anything can happen. So I just find it just sad and pathetic, and I can't stop looking at it. But at the same time, whenever I think about it and talk about it, I get incredibly depressed, because I remember the way America used to be, and now I just find it so pathetic. I just find it so incredibly pathetic. But So anyway, man, great talking to you, and I hope to catch you next time.
Thanks a lot, Coach. Thanks a lot, Mr. Lear. You have a great one. You take care. Hope you're able to see your family soon in the Ukraine.
I hope so too, man. I'll keep you guys posted. Take it easy. I want to get to Matthew Cubillos, who had a very interesting question about his sister. Okay, and Matthew, are you there? Matthew, are you there? Hello,
Hi, can you hear me?
Matthew. Hey, how's it going?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. Can you speak up, please? We can hardly hear you.
Yeah, okay. Can you hear me better now?
Not really.
How about
Well,
now?
just ask the question.
Okay. So my sister, she's gonna go into
Oh, I
college.
can't hear you, Matthew. Can't hear you at all. Your microphone is just not working at all.
Uh,
Hello?
hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can't hear you. Okay, Matthew, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to mute you and I'll just read the question myself. Sorry about that. I mean, I wanted to have you on, but I can't hear you at all. Okay, so because I can see, and just so that you all know, when I unmute somebody, like a little green speaker appears, and when the person speaks, it sort of like flashes a little like a horn kind of thing, like the person is talking. But when Matthew was talking, I didn't hear anything. So I think that there's something screwed up there. I think that his levels are too low. So anyway, let me get to his question, which is, oops, where did he go? Where did he go? Oh yeah, here it is. I'll read it to you. Hi, Coach. Thank you for the informative webinar. You're welcome. My question is not about myself, but about my sister. I'm 18 and she is 16, and we both live in the US. I found the examples you provided of yourself and Stephen very interesting because they made me think of my sister's situation. I don't know who Stephen is. She is an outstanding pianist and has won several first place awards at both local and even international. The Stephen, that guy, yeah. She has won several first place awards at both local and even international competitions. Good for her. However, my dad, an engineer, wants her to pursue a degree in finance in addition to the music degree she wishes to pursue. I feel that this would be a mistake because she has already found that she loves and is good at piano, and because I think by double majoring she is playing to lose. Any help would be appreciated. I disagree. I think that your dad is pretty much right. See, having a successful music career, a truly successful music career, is extremely difficult. Okay, and wanting it and practicing are just not enough. Sometimes you can practice for 20 hours a day for 10 years and you still don't make it. Okay, it's as simple as that. Because some people, no matter how good they are and how much they practice at it, and no matter how much talent they have, there's always somebody better. And sometimes it just doesn't happen for you. Okay, and so it's smart to develop a degree in something else just in case. If she can pursue both finance and piano at the same time, then no problem. See, there is a difference between when you come to a forking path, a fork in the road, and there's two roads, there's X road and Y road. That's one thing. But many times you can pursue both paths simultaneously, if only for a bit. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay? She is 16 years old. She's too young. It could be that she hits 20, 22, 25, and she hits her ceiling insofar as her piano playing. And all of a sudden she's 25 and she has no other skill. She hasn't learned any other skill that she could pursue. See? So my mode of working or thinking is I try to pursue parallel courses for as long as possible and delay the point where I have to forego one thing and choose the other. Okay? In everything in my life. But I'm always very aware when I'm doing that. And I always calculate whether the two possibilities are viable. Okay? You want to have a plan A, but also a plan B, and pursue plan B diligently. Don't half-ass it. Do it fully. And she has the possibility of double majoring in music and finance. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. And in point of fact, it could be that because of her finance degree, she winds up working in the music industry, not perhaps as a pianist, because it could well happen that she reaches like a ceiling in her ability. But because of her financial skill and because of her knowledge of the business, she could become very, very successful in the music business. The classical music business is very, very lucrative because we always talk about the record business like, rap music and rock music and whatnot. but classical music is huge, okay? And it's a huge business, and she could do very well there. And so the point, you have to have a plan A and a plan B, especially at that age. 16, she's way too young. Think of it in so far as, imagine she was a basketball player, not a piano player. At 16, yeah, she's the best basketball player, say, you know, the best one on her team, the best one in the state, maybe, right? But, you know, 16 is way young. And by the time she's 20, maybe other players have passed her by, and she's, you know, she hit her peak at 16 or 18, and the other players kept on developing, and she was at 18 as good as she would ever be playing basketball, for instance. That happens all the time. I mean, think of it in these terms. If she was 16 years old and a basketball player, would you tell her, hey, you know, you should quit school and just try to join the WNBA? Of course you wouldn't say that. That would be crazy. You see? You tell her, no, pursue basketball. It's great that you're good at it. Congratulations. Aim for the pros, but be smart. Your dad is on the right track. Yeah, and he's an engineer, so he probably is good at analysis. Yeah, I would do what your dad says. Okay, and she's not closing any doors. She's keeping options open. That's what she's doing, and that's what you always want to be doing. Keep your options open. Decide as late as possible, and always prop up each option. Don't sort of like let one option die on the vine. Always keep it up. Yeah. You know, in the pickup artist community, they talk about spinning plates, right? You know, you have that metal pole where you have a plate spinning on top of it, and what you have to be doing is keep each of the plates spinning, and you just tap each of them a little bit and then move on to the next one so that they're all spinning simultaneously. That's what you have to do with your options. Always keep your options open. Always keep them propped up and functional before you decide. Okay. Okay. Any other question? Let me see. Wait. Okay, let me. Oh, Kian has a question. Let me hit Kian. Kian. Kian, are you there? Hello.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
How's it going? By the way, before I ask this question, it's funny that music question with the guy's sister. I
Yeah.
have the exact opposite problem. Like, I'm the one who thinks my sister should have been double majoring, but my parents insisted that she just follow her dreams and only stick to the art career.
Yeah, well, she's a girl. She can find a husband.
Yeah, true. Well, she's
yeah, and
also
her parents
tattooed
are.
her body.
What? She tattooed her body?
She's also big time.
Oh man. Well.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's only gonna find a beta chump.
Yeah, I know. It was funny because she has like she posted a music video that she made, and her boyfriend commented in the YouTube comment section, "I know this goddess. She is going places."
And is she going places? Hand to heart.
I hope so.
Oh, you say no.
No. Look. She's a very good singer, but her songwriting needs just a bit refining. She's not bad. She's pretty good. She's very talented.
Okay, I mean, you don't have to. I'm just asking here. You want to share it with us or no?
A little bit actually.
No.
A little bit actually. Yeah, a little bit. Look. She is very talented, and
no. Do you want to share a link?
A link? Oh, sure. You know what? Tell me what you think of the song, because I think it's okay, right? It's called "Stoned and Alone."
Okay, in the questions, put up the video.
Yeah. Her her YouTube channel is Siren with the I in Sirens as a 1. Is that, you got that?
Wait, let me yeah.
Tell me what you think, because I'm in two minds.
Putting a link in the questions?
Oh, okay. Hold on. How do I do this? So I can just I will try this.
Yeah, just in the questions, just put the link.
Well, look, while I'm looking for the link, I'll ask you about my question because I had a question about Ukraine.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So you know, you mentioned like come to Africa for your fortune, go to Ukraine, Russia to find a wife and all this stuff. But I've been talking to a lot of, you know, people from the Caucasus and black people who live in Russia and Ukraine. Now, I don't know how true this is, all right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you can tell me, how bad is racism in places like Ukraine? Now, I use that very, you know, because I'm not a guy who, you know me, I agree that a lot of racism is conspiracy, but
Mm-hmm.
what do you think there?
Well, yeah, there is a bit of racism, but how can I put it? See, the notion of the West of like, oh, we should all like love each other and kumbaya and shit like that, that's kind of absurd. Okay, because people who are different have always been rejected by a majority. That's perfectly normal. Okay, because it's like you care more about your family, your immediate family, your parents, your siblings, your own children. You care more about them. And then your cousins, you care about them, but a little bit less. And those distant cousins, even less. And your friends, your close friends, you care for them more. But the ones who are not so close, you care for them a little bit less. And if they're a little bit too different from you, you know, some stranger that passes along, you don't really give a shit about it, one way or the other. And if they're radically different, you can easily reject them or want nothing to do with them. And especially if they decide that they want to fuck around with your shit and change shit, you're like, fuck you, get away from me, you know? So I don't see much of a problem. I personally find this whole notion of like everybody's a racist and shit like that, I find it trivially true because we are all racist, yes, because we are all people who make inferences about other races based on the observed data, and we dislike other people of other races just because they're not like us, because human beings are hardwired to prefer people who are just like them. It's normal, okay? That's why we care about our own children far more than what you call it, than somebody else's children. I mean, I love my children. If I came across two children who are 7 and 5 like they are, but they're not mine, I could give a shit about them. I mean, I hope nothing happens to them, yeah, but I don't care, you know, because they're not mine, you know? And if they're annoying, you know, if they start to cry and shit, I'll be like, fuck these kids, you know, these kids that are not mine, right? And when my kids cry, I'm like, oh, it's okay, you know, and I comfort them. But random kids, I tell the parents, shut the fucking kids up, you know? I mean, this is normal. To dislike things that are different or have nothing to do with you is not, there's nothing wrong with that, okay? And anybody who claims otherwise is just full of shit, okay? Okay, let me, so there's that question. And yeah, there's racism and whatnot, but like, look, if you're, people are racist towards other groups when they fuck shit up, when they commit crimes, when they commit mayhem and whatnot. There is this great Twitter video that appeared the other day, yesterday. This black guy, and he was saying, you know why the police never fuck with me? Because I don't break the fucking law, okay? And he went on this rant, and it was really fucking funny. He was saying, you know, there's nothing wrong with the police because I don't fuck with them. You know, if they stop me because I'm speeding, I'm polite to them. I give them my papers and driver's license, and that's that, and I get the ticket, right? I don't resist arrest. If they decide to arrest me because I'm drunk driving or whatever, I don't resist it because they're supposed to put you, you know, put you under control and arrest you when you know they decide to detain you. And to resist it is just stupid. Okay, but that's sort of like my point. I mean, the point I'm trying to make is that, see, if you behave like the people in your environment, there's no reason why the other people in that environment are going to have any problem with you. And you ask me, is there racism in Ukraine or Belarus or Russia or wherever? Sure there is, but at the same time, if you just act like everybody else, nobody's going to hassle you. Why would they? You don't hassle somebody who's just acting normally, see? So that's my position on the whole thing. I think the whole issue of racism is just so much bullshit for a lot of people who want to feel special about themselves. But, you know, that's just me. Anyway, where's the link, man?
Yeah, I've been trying to paste, but I'm gonna just have to write down the link like manually.
Oh, it doesn't paste. Is it allowed to paste?
It doesn't allow to paste, unfortunately. So I'm writing out manually, but you know.
Okay, it's a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
It's a YouTube channel. What's the name of what's her name?
Siren with the capital S and the I is a 1.
Okay, Siren, a capital S. The I is a 1.
Yes. Stoned and Alone.
R-E-N?
Yeah. Siren, like Odysseus.
Okay, there are 466 subscribers to her channel. I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, it's got like an I. You've seen it?
It says non-epic gamer. Oh, this isn't her.
No.
Okay, it's spell it for me again. It's S1REN.
Yeah. S1REN.
Okay.
28 subscribers.
20. I found it. Yeah. Okay. It was like the second one.
Yeah, just
Okay.
tell me what you think on a scale of 1 to 10. I think it's about a 6, the song, personally, but maybe that's just, I don't know what I'm thinking.
I'm gonna put this shit on the in the question. I'm putting this. I think I have the sent to all. Oh no. Well, I put it in the wrong place. I put an answer to a question that DJ Headache had.
Oh
So
no.
let me put it to an answer to your question. Oh, I didn't know they'd had this functionality. This is really cool that you can post an answer directly to a question. In the question box, when you get to Kian Kurji's name, at 748 was his question, I posted a link. And I think that you can, I think that you guys can check it out and go to it. But anyway, yeah, I'll check it out because I don't know. Can you guys hear that?
No, I can't hear anything.
You can't hear anything?
No.
Okay.
That's fine,
Yeah, it's nice enough. I listened to a little bit of it. Yeah, it's nice enough, but
Yeah.
tell her not to quit her day job.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Don't quit the day job, but
Yeah, no, it's that the problem is that, see, in the arts, especially in music, see, being successful has nothing to do with talent, and it has everything to do with being hyped and positioned by other people who have bigger audiences, bigger platforms.
Yeah,
Okay.
totally agree.
Back in 1999, I visited San Francisco to visit some friends there and whatnot and have a good time. And I was there, and at one point I was in Haight-Ashbury, and I went through to some CD store, right? And they had this the CD by a singer called Seela, Seela, and the CD was called Something Happened. And I bought it on a whim. It was like 99 cents or something like that. It was no big deal. So I bought it on a whim because I actually liked the cover. I thought that the cover was really clever photography. And what happened was that I bought this album by, like I said, Seela, Seela, Something Happened. It's really great. It's a great little indie album, like typical indie album of the 90s kind of vibe to it, lo-fi, that kind of thing. Great songs. I really enjoyed them, right? And I asked myself, how come she's not more successful? She ought to be. And there have been other artists along the way that I've come across. They're very obscure, and they're pretty talented. They have like decent songs, good songs, some of them really good songs, but they never clicked. And it's because, that business, it depends on human relationships. And there are some artists who become huge and their songs are kind of crappy, if you ask me. They're monotonous and repetitive, and it's recorded on machines, and so it's just like very, the beat is like perfect. There's no feel to the songs. I don't particularly care for them, but they're huge. Millions of copies sold. Everybody listens to this shit. And that leads me to conclude that that kind of business is a business that talent means nothing, and it's all about who you know and how you get plugged in. So yeah, I think that it's a mistake to pursue that kind of career. But if your parents are pushing that on her and she's like all gung ho,
well, no, she wants that, but I'm the only voice who's like kind of saying, find something else as well. being good at art is not a reason for failing at math and science. You know, that's my.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, what's going on there is also it could be. I don't mean to be impertinent, okay?
No,
But it
please,
could be
please,
that
be
your
impertinent as
parents,
you want. You know.
yeah, but your parents could be worried about not losing the relationship with your sister, and so they're like, okay, we won't fight her on this, because if we fight her on this, maybe she'll cut off contact. You told me that she's in South Africa, right?
Yeah, she's in South Africa. That's correct.
Yeah, then they're probably worried about losing contact with her, that she gets pissed off and uh, yeah, she pissed off at them and therefore cuts off contact. Like, and that's something that happens a lot, okay? Especially in this period in our lives when we're living like an atomized existence, where people can sort of like permanently break off contact and never see each other again. I think that because of it, we're very reluctant to tell people the truth. The people we love, tell them the truth, because we're afraid that they'll
Yeah.
cut off contact with us, and therefore we'll lose the relationship by telling them the truth, even though
Yeah, and
they ought to hear the truth. You know what I mean?
and yeah, and we got problems with her, like the tattoos especially, just really bad.
Yeah.
Like the first time she got one, she got a little tiny scolding, and you know, my mom was the only one who like shouted at her, and then just to spite her, she got an even shittier one on her hand, and that was just to spite her.
She's got issues, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry to hear that. I'm really, really sorry. Yeah.
Oh well.
But yeah, it happens. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
man. Great talking to you. Take it easy.
yeah,
Catch you
yeah.
next week, I hope.
Great to you. Yeah, yeah, sure.
All the best. Let me see. Let's hit. Let me hit. Because we've been talking about like different stuff, but Sergio Jimenez, who I am unmuting, is the only one who's actually has a question about what the fuck I was talking about. So I want to bring him on to ask the question. Sergio, are you there? I'm waiting for him to turn green. Sergio, are you there? Well, I should call him Sergio. That's how you pronounce Sergio's name. But when I speak in English, I tend to say things like an English speaking, like Sergio, instead of saying, hi, I'm talking to Sergio. It's weird. I don't like mix my accents. Okay, Sergio's mic is not working, so I'll read it for him. I'll read his question for you all. In general, what do you recommend to achieve FIRE? If one carries debt, credit cards, student loans, mortgages, etc., what would you do? Okay, I wish I had him on because I'm not quite understanding the question. But I assume that the issue becomes, if you have all this debt, credit card debt, student loans, mortgage, whatnot, how do you achieve FIRE? Okay. Well, that's sort of like what I said in the presentation, is that you have to pursue a two-track tier. Like I explained when I was living in Los Angeles right out of college, and I was working at that temp job. See, that temp job, it paid my rent, it paid my debts, my student loans and whatnot. So you have to be pursuing one track, like the normal track, where you're living the normal life, and the separate track of your life, where you're pursuing FIRE, okay? Rarely can you combine the two, at least initially, okay? It could be that later on you can focus strictly on what's the FIRE track. Like in the case of this guy, Steven, that I mentioned before, the YouTuber. He said that at first, he was doing just regular jobs to pay the bills before he was pursuing things that were FIRE, okay? I mean, well, first he was like a student in high school, and then he said he had this job at a pet store, and yeah, pet store, I think. And these jobs that he did, right, they were just sort of like to pay the bills, if you will. You have to think of in the sense that you're going to have one track initially that's just to pay the bills, and the separate track is in pursuit of FIRE. Eventually, when things in FIRE have improved enough, are going well enough, then you can devote your entire attention to FIRE, because at this time, presumably, the track that you're pursuing insofar as fire is concerned is bringing in enough income to cover your living expenses. See? But you also have to think to yourself in the following. If you are pursuing something in fire, and after, say, 6 months or a year, it is not producing enough income to finance your regular life, then it's probably not a track you want to continue to pursue. It could be that the payoff takes several years. That happens in certain cases, okay? But not usually. Usually what will happen is that if you pursue a track that's fire, that will provide financial independence, that track will be producing an income on its own in relatively short order. Like I said, 6 months to a year. Okay, stretch it out to 2 years, between 6 and 24 months, but it will provide it at some point. If it's not providing it, then it's unlikely that it will provide you with financial independence. I mean, think about it. If you devote 2 years of your life to something, to some other activity, you have a regular job, like in my case. Imagine I had been working at a temp job for 2 years, and at the same time pursuing a writing career. And after 2 years, I had nothing to show for it. I mean, I'd written a bunch of shit, but no sale. Then the question would be like, well, why the fuck are you pursuing writing? You're obviously not good at it. You haven't sold anything in 2 years. What's the point of it? See? I mean, in my own case, I actually started earning money within 2-3 months of arriving in LA. It wasn't enough to live on permanently, but I was earning money as a writer, like I said, 90 days in, you know, less than that, like 2 months. See? It was that initial taste that said, okay, I can pursue this. And it took me a while to hit it big, but I did, okay? And it was less than 2 years. It was 15 months, yeah. So 15 months where I could just like quit the temp job and just full-time writing. But yeah, so you got to keep that in mind. You got to keep in mind that what you call it, you got to pursue 2 tracks, and the fire track is the separate track. But if it's not bringing in cash at some point in the not too distant future, then it's the wrong road, and change your path. DJ, where do you go? DJ Headache has a question. Let me hit up DJ Headache. DJ, how's it going?
How you doing, Coach?
Pretty good, pretty
Can
good.
you hear
What's
me,
up?
Coach?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
All
What's
right,
on your
so
mind?
I'm actually on the opposite end of fire, where
I can't hear you.
everything you talked about.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Speak up.
Can you hear me
Speak
now?
up or turn up your levels. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you better now. So what's up?
Okay, so I'm on the other end of fire, where I've actually was a DJ. So it goes back to your artistic part of being an artist. So I was able to become financially retired. Literally was making a boatload of cash DJing for different celebrities, corporate and wedding events. And I literally took all of my cash into real estate and provided passive income.
Right.
And my fire, the reason behind it at the time is my parents had me at an older age. They was in their late 30s for my mom, early 40s for my dad. So I wanted to be able to see them off as you know, they retired, make sure they were pretty much straight. So I knew working for a 9 to 5, I wouldn't have that much time off. I would be on somebody else's schedule. So my push was just to literally be able to take care of them. So for the last 7 years, I've literally been financially retired, taking care of them, going to hospital visits, everything. Now that they recently passed away in 2019, plus I got divorced because I didn't listen to your first video that you put out on YouTube. Never date a woman over 25. That is my golden rule now. So I got divorced, and now I am bored as shit because I have nothing to do. So I was in the pursuit right before my dad passed to become an airline pilot, but then we and him joked about, do you really want to spend 125,000 to become a pilot? You know, yeah, you'll make the money in the long run, but starting off, they're gonna start you off at 45,000, and then plus the pandemic hits, I don't see the airline coming back as strong as it once was. Maybe 10 years from now.
That's the thing that I would that's the thing that I'm doubtful. okay, that I don't think the airline industry is going to come back at all. You know, I think it'll be a shadow of its former self. I think that this whole lockdown has hit the economy so hard, and it'll take a year or so for the clear effects, the long-term effects to be apparent. I think that we're going to be in this hole for 5 years, 10 years, who knows? But to answer your question, see, yeah, you'd have to invest like 125,000 to be a commercial airline pilot. Yeah, you would have to probably sell off some properties and lose that passive income in order to finance it, right? Or perhaps you could take out a loan and use that passive income to finance the loan. I mean, that's a decision you'd have to figure out. But you
Correct.
could do like an intermediate step, which is if you're interested in commercial airline flying, well, why don't you just learn to fly a plane? I don't know if you know how to fly a plane at this point.
Hell no, but I'm willing to do that. Just become a private pilot and don't even worry about the commercial. Just fulfill my dreams of just being able to fly. Period.
Yeah, if I were you, I'd take that first step, figure that out first, you know, because it
Okay.
could be that you wind up learning to fly and you enjoy it, but you don't really enjoy it that much, and you don't really want to be a airline pilot, you know. It could very, very
Gotcha.
well be that, you know. I mean, you don't have to jump into the deep end of the pool right off the bat, you know. It's perfectly fine to take like little steps down the steps into the pool, you know, on the shallow end. And not
Okay.
even jump into the shallow end, but like I say, step in step by step to see if you like the water. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay.
Okay.
So playing like that is my suggestion.
Okay. And then let me throw one other thing at you.
True.
Do you feel like this, I'll just call it depression, whatever we're going through, COVID, do you feel like this will be worse than '08, similar to '08, or
Oh, it's
not as
worse.
bad?
It's worse, man. It's worse. It's far worse. See, so yeah, shit's gonna get really, really bad. It's already really, really bad. Lots of cities in the States are on fire. The police in Seattle just said to everybody in Seattle, they said basically, you're on your own. We're not gonna help you. We're not gonna protect your business. We're not gonna protect your homes. Holy fucking shit. They basically gave Antifa carte blanche to go and burn up the whole fucking city, you know? So,
Gotcha.
dude, this shit is gonna get so goddamn bad, you know?
Now,
And the thing is,
I was,
see, look, I gotta say, and anybody who's a Democrat or a leftist and doesn't like it, what I'm about to say, sorry, but this is how I see it. It seems to me that the Democratic Party deliberately want everything to go tits up, to be as chaotic and miserable as possible, because they think that if it's as miserable as possible, people will vote Democrat. That is a shitty thing to do, and it seems that that's their goal, to make things as shitty as possible so that people will say, oh yeah, I don't want any more shittiness, so I'm going to change. I don't want Trump. I want Biden, you know. I think that that's their calculation. I think that that's fucking horrible. Okay. And I think that that's what's happening. And I think that the people who have come up with this plan are fucking despicable, you know. Look,
gotcha.
and if you're a Democrat and you feel offended by that, okay, but that's the way it looks like to me. Like with all these fucking Democratic politicians saying that you know, supporting the quote unquote protesters, they're setting cities on fucking fire, man. Come on. You know, this isn't like a protest. It's not a peaceful protest. It's a fucking riots going on, and they're encouraging it. Man, fucking assholes as far as I'm concerned. But you know, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one, you know. So yeah. But anyway, what else, DJ? What else is on your mind?
I was going to throw something your way and just let you know. I'm in Atlanta, and actually, the Wendy's where the police officer shot the guy that took his taser,
Yeah.
and Black Lives Matters came out in woodworks and everything. That same Wendy's restaurant, I know you didn't hear about it. Actually, I think an 8-year-old girl got shot as well.
Oh
Black on
yeah.
black crime. Didn't
Didn't say
even
a
make the
thing.
news. Didn't
Didn't
nobody
even.
come out? And we were outraged. Like we're like, where's Black Lives Matters now? When it's somebody that literally did not take a police taser and shoot it at the police officer.
Well,
You
see, if the
know,
shooter had been white, you know, then it would have been news, and better yet, a cop, black or white cop, it wouldn't have mattered. But yeah, black on black. Yeah. Well, what happened to Terry Crews? You know, Terry Crews,
Yeah.
If you guys don't know, he's like an actor, like a wrestler, I think, or something like that. He seems a nice enough fellow. But he said, come on, man, it's all Black Lives Matter, all lives, period, matter, in the sense of like all human beings' lives matter and have value, intrinsic value, which is something perfectly normal. And they're like, no, you're a racist. You're a racist. We don't like you. They try to cancel this poor guy. He said something completely innocuous and totally Christian and decent of him. He said, like I said, in the sense of like every person's life matters. And why is it that like that little 8-year-old girl who got shot, her life doesn't matter because the shooter was also a black guy? Fuck you, man. That's just fucking. To tell you the truth, I think that an 8-year-old child's life is infinitely more valuable than some shithead who tries to take the
Totally
taser
agree.
and uses the taser of a fucking cop. Okay, because that guy, the guy who stole the taser and tried and shot it at the cop, shot the taser at the cop, he's a fucking moron. I mean, come on. You got to ask yourself, man, are we actually improving the average IQ of the world for this guy gone? Because only a fucking idiot would have done such a thing, right? Or
That's right.
stoned or God knows what. But an 8-year-old child, come on, man. I mean, I've got a 7-year-old daughter. Yeah. If she died, I think I would lose my mind. Not kidding. If she died, and forget about if she was like shot, okay? I'd go out of my fucking mind, and I have nothing but the most tender and compassionate feelings towards the parent of that poor child who died like this, because I think that it's indescribable, it's impossible to understand, and it's frankly it's something that I don't want to understand or ever live through, because I think it would just I don't even want to contemplate it, to tell you the truth. And so that they didn't even mention that poor child's death, man, that's fucking low. That's just fucking low, and I have nothing but contempt. Sorry about the rant, man. It's just
Are you
I've
fine?
been following this real careful, but like, yeah. Let me ask you something. What's the
Sure.
vibe? Are you black or white or something else?
I'm actually black.
Okay. Uh, do you know other black people, and what do they think of the Black Lives Matter movement?
I've It's about 75% is for Black Lives Matter. About 25% I know that's like a bullshit, because it's like we look at it. Some of us we look at it differently. Like the 8-year-old girl, like if you're gonna shut the whole freeway down, shut it down for everybody.
Yeah,
Regardless if they're black, white, Hispanic, Asian, doesn't matter.
yeah,
If you're saying that the police is just that bad, but the statistics to me just do not support the whole Black Lives Matter or rant against the police or defund the police. I get stopped by the police all the time, and it's just a matter of respect. My mom was a retired FBI agent, and
hmm
I just was taught, man, you just respect the police. The goal is to to get away from the situation as safely as possible. Meaning, if you get pulled over, the worst case scenario is you act the fool, yeah, you get shot, or the best case scenario is you get a warning. So let me
yeah,
work towards getting that warning and keep it pushing.
yeah, exactly. I mean, my thinking is that look, people react to you the way you treat them. If you treat them decently, they'll act decently with you. That's the experience I've had everywhere in the world that I've ever lived in. Okay, and I've lived in a lot of goddamn different places, between the States and Ecuador, Chile, the UK, Germany, France, Holland, Ukraine. That's like what, 8 countries, 10 countries. In every single country, even if you don't speak the fucking language, but if your attitude is you want to be respectful and just smooth everything out and not create a ruckus, people are easygoing. They want an easy life too. I have never encountered anybody in authority who's like, looking to start trouble with me. Never. Okay.
Gotcha.
And so I tend to think that the people who get into scrapes with law enforcement are people who probably did something really stupid to piss them off, you know. But right now that's an unpopular. Right now that makes me a racist. Just saying that makes me a racist, which is just fucking dumb.
Hey,
Huh?
I get called racist coon, everything in the book, but I was gonna make another point. I think the biggest difference between my friends who support Black Lives Matter versus the ones who don't, that are black, is the difference is we have traveled the world and we see
Hmm.
things totally different compared to
Yeah.
somebody who has only stayed in their environment.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. Having a little more education, a little broader perspective, not education, but like a broader perspective of the world. Yeah. Yeah. I think
Correct.
it's just dumb. And look, this whole COVID-19 thing, and now these Black Lives Matter rioting, I am convinced that the whole fucking thing was a put up job by the left wing and the media to torpedo Trump. I think that that's basically it. I think that, you know, everybody can protest Black Lives Matter, but you can't go to church because of COVID-19. What the fuck? Fuck you. I mean, come on, man. Well, they don't even try to hide it at this point, So I don't know. I'm extremely disappointed, and I'm extremely disappointed that people aren't more pissed off at the hypocrisy. They're sort of like taking it. You know what I mean? I mean, like,
Well,
go ahead.
I was gonna say that's the real reason why Trump actually got elected because it was just everybody was like he was that third option, not right, not left,
Hmm.
just somebody different. Like, and we didn't even give a damn. Like if he got in there and he just fucked up, well, who cares? Everybody's fucked up in our opinion.
Yeah.
But I think that this whole thing has been a plot just to get him out of there. And to say if he's done a good job or bad job, I actually like Trump for a different reason, not the politician Trump. I just like Trump because he tries, and if he fails, okay, he fails. But it's a lot of things in life, or a lot of people in life that won't even try.
Yeah.
And I don't even think he wanted to be president. He was like, well, fuck it, let me just try. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my thinking is that, look, I don't respect him. Okay. I think that he's a used car salesman. Okay.
Yeah, he's a terrible politician. Now, I'll admit that.
Yeah.
Terrible.
He's a guy who will tell you whatever you want to hear in order to make the sale. And I think that he went out to the voters and told them what they wanted to hear because it was actually happening, that a lot of people, middle class people, can't make it anymore. And this economy is going down the tubes for them. The middle class people and lower middle class people are being left behind. And he told them what they wanted to hear because it's their real experiences. And he expressed what was going on with them, but he didn't have any solutions to those problems. He was able to identify the problems, but not solve them. And that's the tragedy, it seems to me. But, you know, uh, Joe Biden, man, oh man, who knows who's behind him, man? That's like a fucking black box. Okay. That
Well,
guy,
vote
have you
a
guys seen
vote.
him? He's
So
fucking, what?
I was gonna say a vote for Joe is really a vote for his VP.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, and have you seen Kamala Harris's new plastic surgery or whatever the fuck happened to her face? You saw it. You saw it.
Yeah.
She looks like the fucking mask from V for Vengeance. What's that? The Guy Fawkes mask. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she looks like that. Oh man, it's just. I mean, Kamala Harris, man, that woman is fucking evil, and now she literally looks like a fucking clown. Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna get off my hobby horse, and we're gonna start to rant. Okay.
All right.
So anyway, DJ, great talking to you, man. Catch you next week. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. All the best. Okay, I've gone over 2 hours here. I'm coming up on 2.5 hours of me babbling, and yeah, I gotta get some dinner. So I'm gonna have to, because right now it's 8:45, and I haven't eaten anything since what, like 2 o'clock, 2 p.m. So I'm fucking starving, and I gotta go pee. So anyway, I hope that this broadcast was illuminating for you, but I want to leave you with some final thoughts on this particular issue of fire. Okay. Oh, thank you, Arash. That's very kind of you. Look, the key issue that I want to leave you with is the notion of you have to, how can I put it? You have to figure out how to live a good life. Okay. And to do the things that you really want to do, that you want to, not that somebody else is telling you to do, and that gives you happiness and satisfaction in your life. There are a lot of things that give a person happiness and satisfaction in life that they are not particularly good at and could never earn a living at. For instance, in my own case, I love two things: uh, squash, playing squash, the sport, and skiing. I'm horrible at both of them. I mean, I'm really, really bad. Okay. Uh, Apart from me being 52 years old, I have no talent for them, for either sport. Okay. I enjoy them tremendously, but I could never be a professional skier or a professional squash player because, like I said, I'm 52 years old, so I'm way too late to be one. But even if I was like 20, okay, at the peak of my physical condition, right, I had no talent for either sport, okay? So I'd never be able to pursue that as a career, as a life, as a profession, right? I recognize that. And there's nothing wrong with having dreams and loving to do certain things that cannot give you the money necessary to survive. That's what FIRE is for. If, for instance, I mean, I really enjoy squash and skiing, but of course, I personally would not devote my entire life to it. But let's suppose that I did. Let's suppose that I was really crazy about squash so much. I love playing it. I love doing it all the time and stuff like that. And so I decided, I want to dedicate my life to squash. But, I can't make a living at squash because I suck at it. Well, then FIRE is perfect. I look for whatever would give me the fuck you money: real estate, day trading, whatever business would give me the fuck you money. And I pursue that relentlessly for 5, 10, or 15 years, or however long it took to get that pile of cash. But of course, at first, I'd figure out how much cash I actually need. How much fuck you money do I need? Do I need $100 million bucks? Do I need 10 million bucks? Do I need $1 million bucks? I'd figure it out first. How much money do I need, or what kind of assets or portfolio, what kind of income, monthly income do I need to pursue this life of playing squash forever? Okay, that's the first question I'd ask. The second question, I mean, how much money do I need? That's the question number one. Question number two is, what can provide me with that amount of money as quickly as possible? That's the second question. You answer those two questions, and of course, the understand that you can never really earn a living as a squash player in this hypothetical that I'm giving, but whatever it is that you love, but that you could never earn a living at it, or not a decent living at any rate. See, those are the questions you have to ask. And then you pursue FIRE. But if you can pursue the thing that you really enjoy and earn a living at it, then don't worry about FIRE. You see my point? A lot of people say you have to do FIRE. No, you do FIRE under certain circumstances. Specifically, the thing that you love cannot provide you with the income. Like I say in the, let me just show it to you real quick. In the at the bottom, on the bottom left-hand corner, before pursuing FIRE, I write, you should figure out if what you really love doing can produce an income. If it can, then do that. Even if the big money doesn't come, you'll still be happy every day. Yeah. But if it cannot produce an income, then pursue FIRE. Okay? I mean, you gotta make that calculation first. And that's why FIRE is so useful, because it helps you focus on how you want to live your life, what you want to pursue in your life. There's this song by my favorite band called The Enemy Within. My favorite band, of course, is Rush. Rush is the only band. There is no other band. There's no other music except Rush. And anybody who says different is a Nazi communist fuckstick who knows nothing about music, okay? But anyway, Rush is my favorite band, and they have this great song. I suggest you listen to it, and this is serious. The song is called The Enemy Within. And it has this great chorus. The chorus goes, I'm not giving in to security under pressure. I'm not missing out on the promise of adventure. I'm not giving up on implausible dreams, experience to extremes. And then in the bridge, it says, to you, is it movement or is it action? Is it contact or just reaction? And you, revolution or just resistance? Is it living or just existence? That's the key line. Is it living or just existence? It seems to me that human beings, men in particular, we thrive in the pursuit of a goal. And we want to be pursuing a goal, whatsoever that goal may be, because it makes us feel alive. And we are no longer merely existing, we are living. I do not believe in God. And if you do, I hope that you don't take offense. I mean no disrespect to any believer. I wish I believed. I think the people who believe in God find great comfort in it. And I wish I did, because sometimes, I wish I did believe in God, because sometimes I've needed that comfort that unfortunately I do not have. But the point I want to make is that, see, I don't believe in God, and I do believe that this is the only life we live. This is it. We're never going to have another. And so you want to be living a life, not merely existing. You want to feel the contrasts of life, the great highs and the great lows. You can't tell how good a life you had unless you've touched bottom and touched a peak. You see? And that's how you live as opposed to merely exist. And there are guys who play it safe, who get the steady job, and they are wage slaves. And they might make a lot of money. Some of them do make a lot of money, but they're just existing. They're just there. And it's kind of like a sad life, to my way of thinking. FIRE is a great way to figure out what you want to achieve in life. Do the mature thing. Figure out what you want to do. Use this idea, this concept of FIRE, in order to articulate and fine-tune what it is you want to achieve. And you'll find that by merely articulating and clearly figuring out what you want to do, by fine-tuning it, by understanding exactly what it is that you want, you'll discover direction and purpose in your life, and you will feel more alive. Yeah. Anyway, that's a thought I want to leave you with. Thank you so much. And I will catch you, as always. The webinar will be every Sunday at 11 a.m. I'm so sorry I was delayed today. It couldn't be helped. But I hope you enjoyed the broadcast, and I will catch you next time. Take it easy, guys.